Of the people, for the people, with the people, by the people. XU News TV. Good morning, Cagayan de Oro. It's Tuesday, December 12th, and this is XU News TV. I am Cherub Casey, and these are the morning headlines. Councilor Dahino sounds alarm over the reported leak of garbage lishot from the landfill in Barangay Pagalungan. Cagayan de Oro uncooperative residents told to segregate waste. EMB to go after miners using banned chemicals. Waste scavengers appeal to CDO government after dump site closure. For the national news, big businesses to build 25 million pesos recycling plant. Resilience from disasters top agenda of Philippines. Environment forum held in Ilocos. Bill protecting Philippine biodiversity gets House panel approval. For the international news, 2 kiwi birds are a rare bright spot in grim extinction report. Black bears come back from a certain extinction in U.S. Nevada. Government in New Delhi plans coal transportation in covered trucks and rail wagons. Councilor Edna Dahino sounded the alarm bells over the reported leak of garbage lishot from the landfill in Barangay Pagalungan, which is now starting to affect water quality of rivers in 2 hinterland barangays of Cagayan de Oro City. Here's Chini Chavare for the news.
Dahino, the vice chairperson of Committee on Environment and Natural Resource, said she visited Pagalungan to check if the complaints of the officials in said barangays were accurate. True enough, the sad condition were unveiled right before her very eyes. Stinking garbage juices are coming out of the landfill, and when she gets to the Lishot pond and eventually reach the river, its color has turned cloudy. City Local Environment and Natural Resources Office Head Edwin Dael has earlier dismissed the complaints, saying it is impossible that leaks would happen since the landfill is contained with the construction of a Lishot pond and that high-density polyethylene liners are in place to sip the garbage lishot. However, Dahino said Lishot pond is shallow, thus lishot comes out from it, especially when it rains hard. Water tests were conducted on the river, and results released from Clenro showed that water quality is within tolerable level. But Dahino said the tolerable level could mean intolerable for people living in the area and consider the river as their choices of livelihood. Dahino added she wants answer from Clenro, especially that the city council has prioritized the transfer of supposed engineered landfill so that it would not cause health hazards to residents of its previous location in Barangay Carmen. Dahino, also the chairperson of the Committee on Finance, revealed they have allocated enough budget for the landfill that was transferred in Pagalungan last June to make sure that its creation follows all standard requirements of the law. Both Pagalungan Village Chief Eric Naparete and San Simon Village Chief have complained of foul smell of the landfill and skin irritation after swimming in the river. This is Chinus S. Chivare for XU News TV.
The Cagayan de Oro City's Environment Office warned the uncooperative residents to either segregate or dump their own garbage in Barangay Pagalungan. Edwin Dael, chief of the Clenro, reminded barangay officials to enforce segregation or the city won't collect the garbage dumped in garbage cans of each barangay. Here's Ike Flores for the news.
Dael said only Barangay Balulang complied with the directive to segregate their wastes. Last Monday, Barangay Balulang started their waste segregation, implementing it in each house in the village of the resident's home. Balulang Chief Alfredo Carcosa said village officials took every effort to inform residents of the waste segregation campaign. He said they have been giving out flyers and going around the community since last week to spread information. Carcosa also encouraged other barangays to do the same. Clenro earlier said that the city generates 560 tons of garbage per day, of which only 360 tons should be dumped in the landfill. An estimated 200 tons of garbage are actual recyclables, which can be deposited in junk shops or in village material recovery facilities or MRF. Dael said only 23% of the 360 tons garbage generation per day should be dumped in the new landfill. If the barangays do not practice waste segregation, the 1 hectare initially opened in Barangay Pagalungan will likely be full for about 6 months to 1 year and will not reach the expected 2 to 3 years. This is Ike Flores for XU News TV.
The Environment Management of the Bureau of the DENR announced that it will exert a sustained effort against illegal small-scale mining and stop the use of banned and regulated chemicals such as mercury in the mining areas of the Caraga region. Here's Donna Belumasag for this news.
A cease and desist order was filed against Consuelo Small Scale Mining Association for operating an ore processing plant without permit and environmental compliance certificate. The EMB said that in their investigation, Bacaron admitted that they have been using cyanide and mercury in the whole cycle of their mining operations. Cyanide is used to dissolve and separate gold from ore. Cyanide leaching is considered to be a much safer alternative to extraction, removing gold from ore, and mostly used by mining companies worldwide. However, small-scale miners, particularly the illegal ones, continue to use mercury in some areas in the world, including the Philippines. He said that the malpractices of illegal miners put communities at risk of being poisoned since they do not have the proper waste disposal facilities, such as the mine tailings pond where harmful chemicals are deposited. Terjeco explained that cyanide wastes can become useful when processed correctly. Mixed with hydrated lime, the result would be the production of urea, a compound to fertilize rice plantations. He said that with responsible mining companies, the use of cyanide is well regulated, and they have tailing ponds to ensure that contamination would be absent, especially in the bodies of water near and around the mining sites. EMB, as part of their regulating the use of cyanide in the Caraga region, only allowed 1,200 tons of sodium cyanide for Philsaga Mining Corporation and 1,500 tons for Greenstone Resource Corporation. Terjeco added that mercury has been banned and so its use is deemed illegal, especially in mining operations. The World Health Organization reported that mercury, when inhaled, causes harmful effects on the nervous, digestive, and immune system, lungs, and kidneys, and may be fatal. Neurological and behavioral disorders may follow inhalation, ingestion, or dermal application of different mercury compounds. Meanwhile, the indigenous peoples belonging to the Manobo tribe in Agusan del Sur, in a resolution, have asked the Provincial Mining and Regulatory Board and other government entities for the closure of Cosma tunnels and the dismantling of illegal ore processing plant at Upper Consuelo, Bunawan. This is Donabel Lumasag for XC News TV.
Several garbage scavengers in Cagayan de Oro City appealed to the local government to help them find other sources of income. Here is Cheryl Huranes for the XU TV News.
They say that since the shutdown of the open dump site in the city, several garbage scavengers have lost their regular income. According to Jobert de la Peña, who has been a garbage scavenger for 25 years in Upper Dagong Carmen, they used to earn 100 pesos daily, but now they are uncertain if they can earn anything at all every day. The City Local Environment and Natural Resources Office said that there is an existing program for people affected by the dump site closure. The official said anyone affected by the dump site closure just has to coordinate with their office. On April 16, 2017, the City Local Environment and Natural Resources Office officially closed the Upper Dagong Carmen dump site. The dump site closure is in accordance with the Article 6 of Republic Act 9003 that prohibits the opening of the open dump sites for solid waste. This is Cheryl D. Oranes for the XU News TV.
An alliance composed of the biggest multinational companies in the Philippines will build a 25 million pesos recycling plant for sachets to help preserve the environment. Here is Ike Flores for the news.
The Philippine Alliance for Recycling and Material Sustainability said it includes Coke franchise bottler Coca-Cola FEMSA Philippines, Liwayway Marketing, Monday Nissan, Nestle Philippines, Pepsi Cola, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Universal Robina and industry groups including the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Philippine Plastics Industry Association. Once operational, the recycling plant can process 150 metric tons of waste per year, which will be converted into pallets, school chairs, and plastic products. The group said in a statement, PARMS is premised on developing and implementing a holistic and comprehensive program to increase resource recovery and reduce landfill dependence, leading toward zero waste according to the statement. This is Ike Flores for XU News TV.
We're going to have a lot more on the other side of the break. The very latest on environment news in and outside the country when XU News TV returns.
Not all children are seen in school. Some of them are found on the streets, homeless, helpless, victims of poverty, and often misunderstood. Do you want to change for humanity? Don't you know that we could be heroes for them? Now, what's your move?
Follow her dreams despite all odds. I'm Gina Barquez, and I aspire to be a fashion stylist, to clothe everyone with confidence and style.
I am Kim Ragmak, a photographer in the making. I may not have the master eye for photography, but I am willing to learn to capture stories that has long been neglected by society.
MJ Kimpo, music producer, singer-songwriter. I dream to make the perfect song to captivate hearts and empower people for social change.
I am Cheryl Haranes. I may be small, but my heart is big. I aspire to be a social worker in hopes of making people feel important and loved.
A leader with a heart. I am Joshua Christian Dael, and I aspire to lead progress towards the people. Ambitious as it may seem, I was born to lead. Why? Because Dael, spelled backwards, is lead.
I am Heat, and I will create style to bring out true beauty.
I am Kim, and I will photograph stories to captivate the world.
I am JC, and I will write stories to bring about awareness.
I am MJ, and I will create music to empower people.
I am Cheryl, and I will lend a helping hand.
I am Joshua, and I will lead the people towards progress.
Let's make a change. Let's be heroes for them.
In a bid to improve the country's resilience from disasters, DENR and the ERDB will hold an international forum to share ideas on how to combat climate change in urban areas. Here is Mary Josephine Kimpo for the news.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources and the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau
will host the Urban Resilience and Disaster Risk Reduction Management Forum on December 4 to 8, 2017 in Lawag City, Ilocos Norte. According to the Asian Development Bank's Urban Climate Change Resilience, the impact of natural disasters had caused $1.7 trillion in global damage, impacting many urban populations. The forum, the Bureau said, will provide an avenue for the exchange of information and coping mechanisms and adaptation strategies on the impacts of climate change and urbanization in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations region. The Congress will be participated by established research and development practitioners from various academic and research institutions in the ASEAN who are working on urban ecosystem, environment, and natural resources management. The executive director said experts would present their studies covering the following subjects: vulnerability assessment in megacities and other highly urbanized areas, climate change, adaptation strategies and coping mechanisms, green growth strategies and government programs for urban resilience, disaster risk reduction management strategies in highly urbanized areas, and financing resilience. The executive director said the research presentations will highlight policies, programs, and experiences that may be emulated or replicated among ASEAN members. Dr. Simplicia A. Pasicolan, Forum Overall Coordinator and ERDB Ecosystems Research Chief, said the papers will provide updated information on R&D, on coping mechanisms and adaptation strategies on the impacts of climate change. The ideas that would be discussed in the forum would be used to the government's plan on urban resilience to climate change, the ERDB pointed out. This is Mary Jo Kimpo for XU News TV.
A committee of the House of Representatives has approved the funding for a bill that seeks to create an improved law for the protection and preservation of the country's flora and fauna. Here is Chini Chavare for the report.
Davao City Representative Carlo Nograles, chairman of the House Committee on Appropriations, said the consolidated bill underscores the rich biodiversity in the Philippines as well as the need to protect it. The biodiversity measure is a consolidation of House Bills 177 filed by Occidental Mindoro Representative Josephine Ramirez Sato and House Bill 133 filed by Ako Bicol Party List Representatives Rodel Batocabe, Alfredo Garbin, and Christopher Co. It remains an unnumbered bill with a working title, Ensuring the Preservation and Management of Protected Areas. The bill aims to improve Republic Act 7586 or the National Integrated Protected Areas System Act of 1992. The Philippines, which has a population of over 100 million, is said to be one of only 17 mega-diverse countries in the world. It hosts 70 to 80% of the world's life form and is believed to harbor more diversity than any other country on Earth on a per hectare basis. This is Chinus Echivare for XU News TV.
Two types of New Zealand kiwi birds are a rare bright spot in a mostly grim assessment of global species at risk of extinction. Here is Mary Josephine Kimpo for the news.
International Union for the Conservation of Nature upgraded the Okarito kiwi and the northern brown kiwi from endangered to vulnerable, thanks to New Zealand's progress in controlling predators like stoats and cats. But the conservation group's latest update mostly reported grave threats to animals and plants due to the loss of habitat and unsustainable farming and fisheries practices. The group said that the Irrawaddy dolphin and finless porpoise that roam coastlines of Southeast Asia are now designated as endangered, imperiled by entanglement in fishing nets and other human activities. For its red list of threatened species, the group assessed the status of 91,523 species, of which 25,821 are threatened, 866 are extinct, and 69 extinct in the wild. It said 11,783 species are vulnerable, 8,455 are endangered, and 5,583 critically endangered. Behind the numbers are life and death struggles for survival as human populations grow and industrialize and habitats are transformed by global warming. Australia's western ringtail possum has slipped from vulnerable to critically endangered, the IUCN said, as its population plunged by 80% over the past decade. Once widespread in peppermint and eucalyptus forests of Western Australia, now it has only a few fragmented habitats and is prone to heat stress at temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius that are becoming increasingly common where it lives. The group said 3 reptile species on Christmas Island, also in Australia, had gone extinct in the wild: the whiptail skink, the blue-tailed skink, and Lister's gecko. The group said the losses of reptiles were mysterious, but might be due to introduction of a disease and the arrival of the yellow crazy ant. The IUCN and Global Invasive Species Database list that ant as one of the 100 worst invasive species. The creature has wreaked havoc on Christmas Island, devouring the famous endemic red crabs that were a key part of its ecosystem. Apart from many animal species, the IUCN said many wild crops such as wild wheat, rice, and yam face threats from overgrazing, use of herbicides, and urbanization. The kiwi, however, has gained ground thanks to a New Zealand campaign to rid its islands of all its rats, possums, and stoats. More than 40 species of New Zealand birds have already died out, and many others remain threatened, including the iconic kiwi. The modest recovery of the Okarito kiwi, whose numbers have grown from 160 in 1995 to 400 to 450 now, offers hope that such efforts can help protect the species and others under threat. The IUCN reported its findings in Tokyo to reflect support from the Toyota Motor Corporation, which helps fund species assessments. It said a third of 46 newly assessed endemic species of lizards and snakes in Japan were threatened by factors such as habitat loss, collection for pet stores, and the introduction of invasive species. This is Mary Jo Kimpo reporting.
After a gap of over 80 years, the black bear has returned to Nevada's Great Basin in the U.S. through conservation, with their population believed to be over 500 according to a new study. Here is Cheryl Huranes for the news.
The study from Wildlife Conservation Society, or WCS, the Nevada Department of Wildlife, and the University of Nevada, Reno, finds that conservation efforts have resulted in successful recolonization of black bears into portions of their historic ranges. In addition to habitat regeneration, public education, investing in bear-proofing communities, reducing conflict rates between carnivores and people, and reduced human-caused carnivore mortality rates were the steps initiated jointly by WCS and the Nevada Department of Wildlife for 20 years to bring them back from certain extinction. As a result of the efforts, a once negative population growth rate for bears in urban interface areas became an average annual growth rate of 16% for more than a decade, and the recolonization of historic ranges in the mountains of the Great Basin ensued. The authors of the study conclude that based on their results, black bears in the western Great Basin appear to currently maintain levels of connectivity between various mountain ranges that are sufficient to prevent genetic bottlenecks following decolonization. Further, black bears in the western Great Basin best represent a genetic metapopulation, a group of populations separated but of the same species, with individuals that interact with other populations. As the human footprint expands over time in the region, this level of genetic connection among various mountain ranges may not last without conservation efforts to maintain connectivity, says the study. The study, Natural Rewilding of the Great Basin, Genetic Consequences of Colonization by Black Bears, or Ursus americanus, appears in the current edition of Diversity and Distributions. This is Cheryl Huranes reporting.
Scurrying for solutions to fight the toxic air pollution, the government of New Delhi has planned to transport coal in covered rail wagons and trucks across the country. Here's Donna Belumasag for more information.
Ferrying of coal in uncovered vehicles and rail wagons is said to be one of the key reasons behind high pollution levels along the transportation route from coal mine or importing seaport to user plants like power generation houses. For the third straight year in the month of November, thick toxic smoke enveloped the national capital region, leading to what has been called a health emergency. Coal-fired power plants are said to be one of the sources of pollution. India generates about 65% of its electricity using coal as fuel. It is abundantly available in the country and is cheaper than alternate fuel sources like natural gas and liquid hydrocarbons. Goyal said the government is constantly working to see how the impact of coal-based power plants on environment is reduced. While power plants follow stringent standards, newer equipments like flue gas desulfurization, which removes sulfur dioxide, will take time to be installed. But to begin with, transporting coal in covered wagons and trucks is being done. Goyal said he had only last week ordered the designing of cover for trucks in rail wagons. Rail wagons and trucks ferry coal from mines in states like Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand in eastern India, or ports like Mormugao in Goa on the west to consumption centers, polluting the areas en route. Also, his ministry is engaging with universities and science labs across the world on carbon capture and utilization. Goyal said India, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi government, has taken a lead on climate change through various programs. This is Donabel Lumasag reporting.
And now to check the current prices on the basic goods and foods at XU Magis Canteen, here's Gina Barquez.
The school is not complete without its own canteen, where the students, faculty, and other members of its community eat meals. It is always filled with people, and all the more during lunchtime. Even if there are many eateries available outside the school, still, many from the Xavier University community choose to eat inside the school canteen. According to those of whom we have interviewed, they chose to go to Magis than places outside school, because aside from spending the same amount, their classrooms and offices are nearby, making it a convenient place to go, especially when their break time is limited.
Ang usual budget nako is 100 lagi siya every day. Kay kapalit naman ko ana og drinks o kanang meal either sa dito sa mga booth or dito sa canteen gyud. Actually sa una sa kuan ko sa gawas ko sa mga food chain, pero na-realize na ako na mas daghan ako mapalit diri sa Magis. Actually maura man gyud siya, and then sa gawas man good is dili ko ma-satisfy man sa mapagkaon dito kung naud ko diri sa Magis kay makapalit naman ko kanang nanay vegetable, nanay meat, and then mura na po ng mga drinks. Kung kuan siya, kung based ako siya sa kuan time scheduling, mas kuan gyud siya mukaon diri sa Magis kay dora sa mga klase.
So akong ginagahin jud nga budget for every meal is mag-range siya to 100 to 200 pesos. So number one is kanang marag late na siya, tas wala ko kanang mas mas convenient if dari na lang ko kaysa kanang mag-adto pa ko sa gawas, and kung init pud kay ang panahon kay kapuyan pud ko og kanang gawas pa. So dari kanang affordable naman siya, makaya ra na mga 50 peso nga meal. Tapos dali ra nimo siya mukan, unlike sa gawas niya basahay kanang mag-order pa ko, kanang magulatan pa na ako ang akong order.
Several food stalls and shops are also available within Magis. Aside from the main store of the canteen, that's why people have many choices. Currently, the price of viands ranges from 20 pesos to 40 pesos. This includes fried chicken, adobo, bihon, sotanghon, and many more. Bottled water, juice, energy drinks, and more can be purchased from 13 pesos to 25 pesos. Combo meals sold at the food stalls are priced from 45 pesos to 50 pesos.
Para sa among siling last sem og i-compare na to sa present nato karon nga same is maintain ang among ceiling, maintain ang among price for dito with rice and gravy. Tungod kay maluoy mi sa mga estudyante nga bisan tuod og nagmahal among ingredients, pero maluoy mi sa ilang day ay sale sa ilang nga mag-increase mi kay tungod sa among product nga kanang ma-affordable sa mga bata og madali ra nilang makapalit sa amo ang product sa among value meals. Bisan todo ang among ingredients ng mahal, pero dili na mo i-increase ang among price, maintain among price sa among value meals. Bisan todo nag-increase, pero okay ra gyapon makaroling-rolling ra ang among ceiling everyday. So ako i-invite ang tanan mga Athenians nga moanhi diri sa Permi-Init aron maka-avail sila sa among product sa 42 with rice sa among product na mo sa among pork chop, fish fillet, Bicol Express chicken and pork salpicao, lean meat.
Snacks are also sold here. From the cheap price of 15 pesos, one's hunger can be satisfied. This is Gina Barquez for XU News TV.
That was half of the hour news update on environmental issues in and outside our country. It's 13 days more to go before Christmas. This has been Cherub Casey for XU News TV. Thank you for being with us.